Welcome to Let's Clear the Air, a podcast sponsored by the Allergy, Asthma, and Sinus Center, dedicated to educating listeners about allergies, asthma, and immunology.
Welcome back to Let's Clear the Air, all things allergy, asthma, and immunology. I'm your host, Liz Edwards. Today I'm with Jim O'Rourke. We are in our Franklin, Tennessee location, and we're going to do something fun today. We're going to talk about 3 things you should stop doing if you have allergies. Immediately. So what's the first thing that comes to mind, Jim?
Well, the first thing that we see a lot of folks doing to relieve nasal symptoms is they will be taking Afrin, or the generic is oxymetazoline, which is a spray that does open up your nasal passage very quickly, but it also can be highly addictive because your nasal passages and the blood vessels there get dependent upon that medication. And then you have what we call rebound congestion, and that is very difficult to get over. So one of the first things we would ever do and stop is like an Afrin type spray. And replace that with a nasal saline rinse or a nasal corticosteroid spray.
Number 2, we talked about pseudoephedrine products.
Right. Sudafed is also a very good decongestant, but we don't recommend that ever for more than 3 or 4 days. We never recommend it if you have hypertension or high blood pressure because it's a vasoconstrictor and it constricts the blood vessels. We don't want that. That's hard to get off of, but that's why we have so many good allergy medications and why we have allergy immunotherapy or allergy shots, as they're known.
What do you think about, the third thing that comes to mind for me is cough syrups. You got a lot of people coughing this time of year anyway. What about those? How long should we be using them?
I mean, we reserve those for acute infections, bronchitis, chronic sinusitis when you are acutely ill with one of those infections. But folks get dependent on those as well. And what you're doing there with a cough syrup is you're not addressing the underlying cause of the cough, which is either allergies, sinus disease, infections, or underlying asthma that may not have been diagnosed. And we get a lot of folks with chronic cough, and we have a lot of great solutions to help remedy that and do a workup and see what's actually the underlying cause instead of just constantly treating symptoms.
So if patients are regularly using all of these over-the-counter medications, it really is time to come in and see you.
Absolutely.
And do a full workup.
Yeah, we do extensive allergy testing to see what's causing these symptoms. We do some lung studies to make sure you don't have some underlying asthma that are caused by allergies. So it really is wise to come in, get evaluated, and get off these medications that really should be reserved for acute situations.
You mentioned side effects with Afrin, with the rebound congestion. Talk about the side effects with some of these other type of fatigue or fog or...
I mean, there is a gamut of side effects from any medication. And again, whenever you use a medication that really should be reserved for what we call acute or kind of episodic infections, if you start using those daily, you can get extremely dried out, especially if you're using something like Mucinex or a cough syrup all the time. These can dry us out and actually end up exacerbating a cough or respiratory symptoms. So all sorts of side effects that we really don't have time to go into the whole list.
Right.
Just know those medications should be reserved for when you're acutely ill, and we can guide you and advise you on which ones to take and when to take those.
This is good advice. Thank you, Jim, for being with us as always.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to people coming in and get to feeling better soon.
We can do a lot of good for you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Let's Clear the Air. Please consider following this podcast, and remember, if you want helpful and accurate information about allergies and asthma, our allergy experts are here to clear the air.